Despite Vladimir Tarasenko's 2-goal performance, the Detroit Red Wings see their 7-game win streak snapped at the hands of the San Jose Sharks.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University, ACHA D1 men's hockey. And Scotty, it sucks that it happened to the Sharks. It was bound to happen eventually, but the Red Wings season high, Yzerman era high 7-game win streak is snapped at 7 in a row. First thoughts in a moment, but first I got to tell the people that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Scotty, I've got weirdly mixed emotions about this game, but I'll get to that in a second. I want to go to you first on your first thought with this game. First thought throughout the game, first thought at the end of the game, whatever the first thing in your head was.
I think those are very different. I think my thoughts throughout the game and my first thought after the final buzzer sounded would be very different. We'll break down some of the individual player performances and whatnot, because there were certainly some not great performances by some Wings. But I think really my first thought was just, like, damn, they lost, the streak's over. Like, that sucks. But I don't know. The only reason it sucks is because the Sharks aren't good, right? Like it's not, they weren't going to win out, right? They were going to lose eventually. The only reason this one stings more than if they had waited and lost against the Panthers later this week is just strictly because it's the Sharks. And like, at the end of the day, you're still like, you're 7-1 in your last 8, and you're still right in the thick of everything. Like you didn't completely derail your season. You didn't need to, again, like win for a month straight in order to salvage the slow start to the year. Like it's okay if they turn around and look like they did in those first 8 games going forward, right? If that's my thought. My very long-winded first thought was just like, okay, this wasn't going to last forever, but it's about how you bounce back now. Like they are going to have to bounce back, and you play a really good team here very quickly. Very quick turnaround. When Thursday. And so you're going to have to go back to looking how you have. And that's really my biggest thing now. One-off games, one-off bad games, they're going to happen. And they're going to happen to every single team who's ever played hockey in the history of sport. But it's about whether they continue to look like they did tonight or whether they go back to looking how they did in the previous 7 games.
Yeah, my first thought was in similar vein. It was like frustration because you lost to the Sharks, and like it's not acceptable to lose to the Sharks. But at the same time, understanding, okay, you were on a W7, and the other shoe was bound to drop eventually.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of cope, too, right? If I'm going to expand it to my second thought, it was like my cope is it's almost good to get punched in the face by a bad team like this, right? Because now you're going to go on the road against some very difficult teams, and now you have had the opportunity to be like, oh, yeah, we're not invincible, and you can reset in practice and work on things that need to be fixed. Obviously, I would always take the win over a loss. That's, again, just cope, and I'm completely upfront about that. But it was like frustration about losing to the Sharks, but just also like it's hard to be too mad when you win 7 straight and you finally lose a game. And we said, right, they had to win 2 of the next 3 to finish out this homestand, and they did. They won 2 of the next 3. It wasn't the 2 we thought, but it was 2 of the next 3. Right. And honest to God, Scotty, like I mean, McClellan talked about it after the game against the Kraken. That was a sloppy game against the Kraken, right? The first four goals came so easily that in the second half of the game, and especially the third period, they were very sloppy, and that's how the Kraken got 2 easy goals. And so with that, combined with the mandatory off day that McClellan was talking about, they didn't have a chance to address the things that needed to be addressed, and you could see it in this game. They were almost expecting these goals to come just as easily against the Sharks. They were out there they make it all
at
these
one
pretty
point,
passes.
At one point in the third, they kind of did, but yes,
Right.
obviously for the first 2 periods, and you're not going to last a whole season
Right.
On that sort of efficiency and those, few of shots to goals. So yes, absolutely something that that needs to be addressed. It was just frustrating because they were coming easy again, and then they
were lazy defensively.
Right, there was a lapse every single time in response to bringing it back within 1.
And that's one of those things that they have to work on, because that got really lax against the Kraken, and that's how those 2 goals happened. So you're going to have to get that tightened up, especially going to Florida. Is it Florida or Tampa first? It's Florida first, right?
Yeah.
And I want to remind everyone, not to give everyone PTSD, but remember the 6-game winning streak last year? Remember, it was Florida that really punched the Red Wings in the mouth after that winning streak.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that was the second loss.
Was that like 7-2? Did they score 7?
I don't remember the score. I just remember we lost Larkin in that game again.
Yeah, well, that was another. I'm pretty sure that was another ESPN Plus game too.
Yeah, and the Red Wings they got absolutely bounced. So that was they're going to need to really adjust and get their minds right. But we're getting a little bit off track here. We're talking bigger picture, previewing the game against the Florida Panthers already. Scotty, difference maker in this hockey game. I think there's one very clear difference maker, and for all the wrong reasons, but I'm gonna pass it to you first.
Yeah, so I actually tweeted out my difference maker mid game. I think
didn't see that one.
It's the first time I've ever done this, but I legitimately tweeted out that I knew who my difference maker was in the middle of the third period, and unfortunately that was Justin Holl. I mean, look, it kind of softens the blow for us, for you and me personally, when the head coach after the game goes out there and just is super blunt about how brutal of a game it was for him, right? Like, we're just kind of reiterating what the head coach of the team said.
He literally said he had a terrible game in the media availability.
And then said he was benched.
Yeah. He said that he wasn't here to BS you. Holl had a terrible game and he knows it.
Right. And he's right. I mean, just the awful turnover right in front of the net. I mean, just a absolutely brutal evening for him. Defensive breakdown after defensive breakdown. And I mean, we'll talk about Husso because he wasn't exactly setting the world on fire either. That just because we're talking about Holl right now doesn't mean that he was the only person that struggled in this game. It was certainly a team effort in that department. But man, if you're looking just like biggest negative impact by one player, I think you'll be hard pressed to find anyone who was more of a net negative, unfortunately, than Holl in this one.
Yes. I mean, 2 of those goals against were directly because of him. It was the first goal against in which he had the puck behind the net and saw pressure coming and then stopped. And it almost looked like he was going to reverse it. And if you reverse it, that's fine. You got your defensive partner right there. But he didn't. He held onto the puck, got his pocket picked, and that's when they got it out front for the first shot, which Husso made the initial save. But then the second shot, he could not make the save on. Then the second goal that he was at fault for was the Toffoli goal when he was right out in front and then just coughed the puck up. In a game where you kept pulling back within 1, 2 goals against that are directly contributed to one defenseman. That's rough. We like to come on here and be like, oh, no one player is ever at fault for. He was directly at fault for 2 goals against. I mean, on the penalty kill, right? He was out there on the penalty kill when they got scored on. He was again. That part was that's the whole team breakdown. That's the part of the defensive lapses. But they all went to the boards. Left, was it Granlund to streak down the middle on a breakaway when they're all already in the defense? How do you get a breakaway when everyone's already in the defensive zone?
legitimately one of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen. Like
Right.
genuinely. That was mind-boggling. They all three, it was a 3-on-1. Like legitimately all three Red Wings just drifted over to the puck. That was mind-boggling. And then like as much as we love him, I mean Marco Kasper's effort to get back on that play and I mean his
Or are you talking about the shorthanded goal now?
yeah, wasn't that what you were
Yeah.
talking about?
I
On
was
the
talking
kill?
about the power play goal they gave up.
I was
But
sure, power play.
same thing is still
Yeah.
true on both.
Misinterpreted
They
who was on the
all
power play.
they all gravitated towards the puck carrier,
Right.
leaving the guy wide open to streak down the middle. I think that was on the power play goal. I'll refer to my notes here to refresh
No, I
myself.
honestly I forgot that was also shorthanded. Yeah,
Nico Sturm, that was a shorthanded goal with 2 seconds left on the Red Wings power play.
that was
But yeah, same thing.
remarkably terrible.
No, they both were very bad. We're going to do a quick break. When we return, Scotty, I'm going to give you my difference maker because I haven't even gotten there yet. Then we'll talk more about notable performers, so stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, concert, comedy, or so much more. Recently, guys, I went ahead and bought myself some Stadium Series tickets. You've heard me talk about it, and I got them through Game Time. Got a great deal through Game Time. One of those things we've been talking about so much with Game Time is those Game Time picks. I used Game Time picks to find a seat with incredible value in the second bowl, not the upper bowl, but like that middle one. 1% value, in the top 1% of value, and it was right because the seats around it were almost double the price, and I would not have found that without Game Time. And I saved an extra $20 by using code LOCKEDONNHL, and I did turn on the all-in pricing guarantee. By turning on that toggle, I saw the tickets, all the pricing up front without any of those surprise fees. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, my difference maker, just get right into it, is going to be special teams, which is really funny because that was my difference maker pretty much the entirety of the winning streak, and now they've lost one game, and it is, again, special teams. But for the opposite reason. They went 0 for 2 on the power play. In fact, they gave up a goal on their power play because of what you were just talking about at the end of segment 1, where Marco Kasper actually made an incredible effort initially on that play where he got back, chased down Macklin Celebrini, right? And was able to knock him off the puck. But when he saw Celebrini curl back, he kind of just gave up. And I'm assuming he was tired. It was at the end of the shift, but he gave up because I think he assumed that Celebrini was just going to curl back and make a pass back to his defenseman. And no, he finds Nico Sturm streaking down the middle. And at that point, everyone gave up. Like you said, the second effort after Sturm got that puck for the breakaway was non-existent. Then they didn't score on their other power play. And then they had one penalty kill. One. And they got scored on in a very similar fashion to the shorthanded goal, where they all gravitated to the puck carrier, completely ignoring Michael Granlund streaking down the middle. So it was a really rough night for the special teams. They lost a special teams battle, and honestly, between that and Justin Holl, that's what cost them the game. Because at 5-on-5, they actually carried the play almost the entire game. Most of the first period, they heavily outplayed the Sharks in the first period.
Really, the first two, I feel like,
I think the second period, the Sharks actually were the better team. I think that their forecheck was giving the Red Wings fits because the Red Wings had gotten accustomed to everything just working out, that when the Sharks were forechecking super hard, they were just coughing the puck and trying to chip it out, and they weren't really getting out of the zone. And when they did, they were right back in the zone.
I just think the shot total, really, the gap closed there in the third. I feel like maybe the end of the second.
Yeah, I mean, in the third period, the Red Wings
they also
really
scored like
it was
4
crazy.
seconds into the one period. Yeah.
It wasn't the offense wasn't really the problems in period. I mean, the second period wasn't great, but the first and third period, the offense wasn't the problem. It was the defensive lapses were huge.
That's if there wasn't just brutal mistakes after every single goal that was scored. I mean, you're talking about they would have been able to claw their way back in and at least tie it there, and it would have been a 3-3 hockey game at one point. But
Absolutely.
do
you want to get to notable performers there, though?
Sure. What would your difference maker with special teams?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's honestly a few different ways we can go here. I think we should probably start with Husso. We can just kind of have that conversation and get it out of the way. Not a very inspiring performance by Ville Husso. Save percentage in the 700s, which is never something you want to see. Obviously, he's responsible for 5 of those 6 goals. I mean, not a very good performance. I don't think there's really much else to say. And, people looking for, ramifications or like what's going to happen. Like, yeah, if the two goalies ahead of him on the depth chart are both healthy, then Ville Husso is not going to get playing time. And that's why. So like, he's third on the depth chart for a reason. He's here because of injury. And that's going to continue being the case. Sorry, you're about to cough. I know that was kind of rough timing.
No, you're absolutely all right. No, you are correct, though, Scotty. There's only one goal that I would directly attribute to, like, you got to make that save. And it was actually the first one, the same one where Justin Holl coughed the puck up and put him in an unfortunate situation. But, they went back and they're like, was this goal screened? Like, Mickey Redmond was giving him the benefit of the doubt. They saw the replay and he wasn't really screened. He got beat clean on Jan Ruda's shot. If you watch, he was shaded too far to the left too much of the right side of the net wide open. That was one that I thought he should have saved. Outside of that, was the Nico Sturm breakaway goal could he have made a save there? Yes.
Same thing with his pad lifted up a little bit, and if he keeps it on the ice, you're talking about a save probably. Like there's small stuff that could have affected pretty much every goal he gave up, but don't get it twisted. The defense absolutely left him out to dry nearly every single goal against. Like this was not Ville Husso. I'm not trying to argue that this was some decent game. Obviously, it was not. He struggled mightily. And as I just said, there were plenty of opportunities for him to save, and a lot of the pucks that ended up finding the back of the net. But the defense did him zero favors. This was really a team effort.
This is a situation where both things are true, right? Husso had a bad game, and I don't think it's uncalled for you and I to ask him to make one more save, right? Make a save on one of those breakaways. I know you're put in a really bad position, and you don't want to ever blame your goalie for getting scored on a breakaway because you've been left out to dry. But I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for one save on a breakaway. I don't think it's unreasonable for him to ask for him to make the save on the Jan Ruda shot, right? But at the same time, you take into account, his defense has been and when you say defense, we don't mean just the defenseman. I mean, obviously Justin Holl was brutal, but the defensive effort by everyone in front of him was really bad. You can recognize both things as true. And Todd McClellan said that. He said that, would I have wanted Ville Husso to make a save on one of those? Yes. But if you're going to sit here and tell me that Ville Husso was the reason we lost, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. So, he very clearly also realizes both things are true at the same time, where it's not ridiculous to ask for your goaltender to make one of those saves, but it's also ridiculous to blame the entire game on him when the defense in front of him was completely breaking down. I mean, William Eklund's goal, that was backdoor. Everyone was puck watching. Everyone was looking at Macklin Celebrini. That's the thing, too, is Macklin Celebrini tried that same exact play 10 seconds earlier. And then, they cycled, and it got back to him, and he went backdoor again, and they finished it. I'm like, you saw him try that literally seconds before, and you're going to just let him. Okay, but I digress. My point is the reasons they lost this game were huge defensive lapses because they're getting sloppy in the defensive zone because they're riding a 7-game win streak, so they got comfortable. Special teams not converting. And, of course, just really, really poor performance from Justin Holl today, who actually legitimately got benched after that the Tyler Toffoli goal.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yes. I agree.
That's why they lost.
Right. I don't have too much else to add at this point. Yes, the defense and goaltending both was brutal. Yes.
It's though I will say this before going to our second break and then finishing out, we got to talk Tarasenko, right? He scored 2.
Yeah.
But it is refreshing on one hand to have a coach like Todd McClellan. I have not missed a single media availability with Todd McClellan yet. Like, I'll see them post a media availability, and I'll scroll right to Todd McClellan's parts just because he's such a straight shooter. Like, the things he said in this postgame and the things he said in the Kraken postgame, where he's like just talking about how certain things have to get better, or not afraid to call a player out. He said it. He's like, I'm telling you right now, but I'm going to be telling Justin Holl tomorrow that like he had a bad game. And like, just the honesty, right? He's not sitting up there, and I don't mean to like take shots, right? But he's not sitting up there talking about underlying numbers in a game you lost by 3 goals to one of the worst teams, because the underlying numbers in this game were fantastic. But like, it's one of those situations that does not tell the story. The underlying numbers do not show the horrible defensive lapses. Like, you could be the better team 90% of the time, but if you're going to have lapses like that, the other 10%, you're going to lose the hockey game. So it's just like, it's so refreshing to have a straight shooter right up there. And then, I lost my other thought that I was going to say, so I'll end it there. Segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings coming up. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Now you can speed up your hiring process with $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. It's a new tagline. I like that. I'm going to see how slowly I can read that for Scotty in the future. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. How about that Tarasenko guy, huh, Scotty? 2 goals.
Man, it's about time, and I think he felt the same way. I think the really cool part was that in the third period, he clearly got a big uptick in role, right? Like, I mean, not only was, you mentioned before we hit record that McClellan said in the presser that he was double shifting him, but also to end the game. I mean, he was out there with the top players there at the end of the hockey game, and out there with Razor and Larkin and whatnot, trying to score when we pulled our goalie. So yeah, I mean, clearly a great game, unbelievably acrobatic goal. Which one was that? The second one? Phenomenal. So yeah, man, just absolutely stellar performance, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come, because Lord knows the big free agent goal scoring acquisition of the summer. We'd like to be a part of the team and be contributing on a little bit more of a consistent basis. So if that can get him going, you know, that raises excitement and expectations even more.
Well, and the thing about those goals too is they were almost identical, right? Like, obviously Edvinsson's was off the side of the net out front, and Eric Gustafsson's was actually a really smart play off the end board and out front, but both came out front.
What did I tell you, brother? Get pucks deep. Good things happen, baby.
He just crashed the net on that puck, and the release was so fast. Even McClellan complimented it. It was just the release was something that was really, really good on both those shots, both those goals. And I mean, he went from 4 to 6 goals. We were talking about it. He's one of those players you need to get going. We talked about that, 2 days ago? We said, rest of the way out, be half a point per game.
Red Wings curse.
Yeah, he's got 2 goals now, and since then, 2 goals in 2 games. So, I mean, getting him going is so vital for the Detroit Red Wings. Let's see. Outside that, Lucas Raymond scored off the faceoff. That was a really nice play.
That I don't want to be too overly dramatic. That play Larkin made off the faceoff was ridiculous, man.
And then the touch by Raymond.
Absolutely ridiculous skill it takes to pull something like that off. So yeah, fantastic setup from Larkin, great touch from Raymond. It's pretty exciting in the moment. Brought him back within 1. It was, really exciting, and then immediately was given up.
For all of literally 1 minute of ice time, from 9:56 in the first or in the third to 10:57 in the third, was how long that game was within 1, and then Justin Holl coughed the puck up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fantastic. Tyler Mott was hurt. in this
Yeah,
game,
tough,
did not
man.
return. That was rough. He lost an edge and went face first into the boards and was bleeding pretty rough. Hopefully it's just like a bloody nose or something, but he did not return. So we're going to be waiting to hear more about the Tyler Mott situation. In the meantime, Christian Fischer's been waiting patiently on the sideline for the win streak to end to get back in the lineup. So this is probably his opportunity. William Lagesson is probably, Lagesson's a left shot D, Holl's a right shot, but after that game, I can't imagine you don't sit Justin Holl. We'll see. We got to practice tomorrow probably that we're gonna see practice lines. Outside that, I mean, they got a big trip looming up, Scotty. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow as tomorrow's episode.
Four game roadie, man.
4-gamer against 3 legitimate playoff threats and in Philly, which is always tough.
For this team, yes. They've won like once in Philly in the last 20 years.
Yeah, you're going to Florida, who punched you in the mouth last year to start your giant losing skid, so you want to avoid that. Then you're going to Tampa, then going to Dallas before flying all the way to Philly. And I think every single one of those games is every other day, so they're going to have to go from Florida to Texas to Philly. Like, that is insane travel.
Yeah, it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday.
That's rough.
Yeah, that's the old four games in 6 days. So,
yep. Around the league too, things didn't really go your way. You had the Bruins beat up on the Lightning 6-2. You had the Penguins lost to the Kraken, which is nice. But then the Blue Jackets beat the Flyers in a shootout. So of course those two teams went to overtime. So both get a point. Columbus, the team you're chasing, gets the extra point. And the Senators beat the Islanders 2-0. That's 3 wins in a row for them. And all the Avalanche were able to mount a comeback and win in overtime against the Rangers, so the Rangers get a point. And the Canadiens beat the Utah Hockey Club. So the only team that lost in regulation that you needed to lose was the Penguins. Everyone else won or got at least 1 point. So rough day for the Red Wings at the office, awesome standings-wise, but bounce back. And this is it. This is what we were talking about. I said the next 4 games is going to determine if I think this team is a real playoff threat. Losing this game to the Sharks is going to be, seeing how they respond is going to tell us how much has really changed, right? Up until now, they were riding a hot streak, but how much will have changed with the response to the Sharks playing against the Panthers? Yeah,
it's about it's about what the next few games look like. I say that all the time on the Tigers show too, right? Like these sports are not football where it's like, okay, you lose and that dramatically alters your season, right? Like, because one loss is, percentage wise takes up so much of the year. Like this is very recoverable. And if you bounce back and during this road trip, you look like how you have looked since McClellan took over, then everyone's going to be fine. And it's going to be this weird thing that we lost to the Sharks, twice now. At the end of the season, we'll talk about it, but like it'll be moved on from if they bounce back and look decent going forward. You can't win every game.
Yeah, hopefully I'm hoping for 4 points on the road swing, 4-8. I think that's a reasonable expectation.
We'll talk about
we'll get there tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll talk about that tomorrow then. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, we ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode to talk about this road swing coming up tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your team every day.